No, no problem. It's okay. It doesn't. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Good
Okay.
afternoon. The first 2 hours we're going to discuss negotiation, and before we're diving into detail, I want to give like a 5 to 10 minutes quick recap to highlight the main points to give a little context to the viewers. So when we're negotiating, when Europeans negotiate, they have they look at negotiation from different angles. So they look just like when you're selling a car, some people might focus on values, some people might focus on the feelings that a car gives them, other people might focus on the latest technology. So there are different kind of angles, different kinds of feelings people have, and that you need to basically tap into if you want to sell your car. So the same thing with negotiation. So we are looking at negotiation from 4 different angles, and I would like to quickly recap the first 2 angles and then proceed with the third angle. So the first angle is vision. Vision means, okay, what is on the other side's mind? What is really what are they really thinking? What really drives them? That's the key question. It's quite easy to get the other side to, for example, name a price. But a price is merely a position. That's merely a manifestation of the feelings behind it. So if you really want to know, if you really want to effectively negotiate, it's a challenge to actually discover what is on their mind, what is important to them, what is not important to them, what makes them want to buy my product, and therefore what is important, especially in the initial stages of negotiation, is to separate positions from interests. So that means that actually people can say, okay, I'm not going to pay anything more than 3 million. Okay, that's a position. But what is their interest? Why are they actually buying in the first place? And what does the product that you're offering actually mean to them? Is this a strategic purchase, or is it a consumption purchase? What is their alternative if they have one? So these things are very important to discover, because once you discover what drives them, you will be able to actually tailor your proposition in order to give them maybe a better proposition, instead of trying to immediately haggle about the price. What the European negotiator will try to figure out is, okay, maybe the price is very important to them, but other things might not be important to them. So basically, what you want to try to do is actually separate the position. Say, okay, I need to have it by then, or this and that. Those are manifestations. It doesn't really answer the why question. Then another important thing, and especially for Europeans compared to Japanese, is personal interests. What does the person right in front of me, what are his interests in this negotiation? Does maybe is he just starting out? So maybe it's important to him to show good results. So he probably will not want to make concessions on price too much, because that's a very tangible negotiation result. Is his bonus on the line? Is promotion on the line? Is anything wrong with him? Maybe there are maybe somebody just passed away in his family, or things like that. What is going on? What is really happening with this person? If you know that, you might be able to cut a deal. So if you know that this personal interest is to actually keep the price, then it might be a good idea to look at all the other things that actually are involved in the deal. So there are business interests. So is this For example, is your product going to increase their profits? There are strategic. Is this a strategic purchase or a short-term interest? Am I buying just a piece of jewelry, or am I buying a tool to improve my business? That's important to know. What are the tangible interests? What are the intangible interests? For example, intangible interest could be, I want to build a relationship with the buyer. If that is the case, that will change my negotiation strategy. So the point here is that vision is to actually discover what drives the other person to actually be negotiating with you. And then basically there are like 5 fundamental negotiation strategy, and we talked about that. From the top is very competitive. It's really hard bargaining. It's basically if you look at negotiation, it's a zero-sum game where whatever the other side takes, I will not get. That means that you need to compete, you need to be competitive, you need to try to get as much value from the table as possible. Where at the bottom of the spectrum, you're very accommodating. Basically, you say yes, 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 and this could be the case if you, for example, do not have any alternative. If you are in a relationship where basically you cannot say no, otherwise you lose this relationship, and that could be the end of your company. If you are a small supplier and your only customer is a big car manufacturer, then negotiation, being a tough negotiator is very, very hard, or if not impossible. So those kinds of negotiators, based on their circumstances, will be much more accommodating. Next, not important. Okay, then the basic you have the basic negotiation strategy, from competitive to accommodating, and then you have tactics. Tactics are more of a short-term operational way of negotiating. So, for example, a tactic could be that you immediately set the price very high. If you are going to sell something, a tactic could be setting your price very high and then making small concessions in order to wear the other side out. That could be a tactic. But you could also, another tactic could be good cop, bad cop. Another tactic could be, okay, I cannot make that kind of commitment. I need to escalate this to my boss. Those are tactics, and there are many. So you better be prepared if you're negotiating with a European, what kind of tactics you may expect. And this is also a little bit cultural bound. If you, for example, the first tactic, making like a kind of extreme opening bid, this is something that you can expect, especially, for example, in the Middle East, where basically they will ask 2-3 times as much as they really want to have, and then their bottom line is even below that. That means
what Middle East? What
in the Middle East they have the general approach to negotiation is that if you are selling something, let's say if you're selling a car and you think that you want to get like 2 million for the car, then you will ask 5 million, like 2.5 times more than what you really think you will get for the car. If you don't do that, people will think that if you ask 3 million, people will think, okay, then this person probably wants only 1 million. So this is culturally determined. In the Middle East, it's normal to ask 2.5 times more than but in Japan that's not the case. No. Basically, if you put the price, that's you can say yes or no, but usually there's not so much price negotiation going on. So this is different in Europe. Definitely we'll negotiate about price. We'll negotiate about other terms as well. Don't expect that your bid will be accepted as is. definitely the other side will try to get something from it. And actually, if you're going to negotiate with Europeans, it's probably a good idea to aim a little bit higher, because if you are not prepared to lower or to give anything to the other side, they will feel that even if they make a deal, that they came out as losers, because it is normal in the European context that you give something to the other side, that you reduce you reduce your demands in order to get a deal. It will feel very strange to any negotiator, any European negotiator, if they need to pay the full price and take the conditions exactly as offered by the Japanese delegation. Therefore, it's better, actually, also for the future, to make the other side feel that they want something in the negotiation. Okay, I think we already discussed all the tactics. There's a lot of things like bluffing and threatening and warning, and it can go as far as basically locking somebody in a room. But I actually heard a friend of mine who works at Microsoft, who was locked up in a room at Nissan at a certain point in time.
What did they do?
They were in a project. They were and they were negotiating contract conditions, and actually Nissan, they really literally locked them up inside the room. The consultants, they couldn't leave the room.
For what purpose?
To basically put pressure on them.
What kind of negotiation?
I think they were in the middle of a project, and it wasn't really going.
Microsoft?
No, it was actually Nissan who locked them up in the room.
For Microsoft?
Yes, they locked up the Microsoft consulting partner.
Kind of software development or something?
Yeah.
Nissan people did?
Yes.
So some sort of threat?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, the show. Really unbelievable. But and this is in Japan. Like, what? I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe it.
But it happened.
It happened.
Well, there's more recently from Nissan that I can't believe.
Oh, of course, yes.
Maybe on a side note, but what do you hold of the entire thing about what's happening with Nissan and Gon?
Yeah, very difficult for judgment. It's already gone, so we don't know who's right, who's wrong.
Right.
But obvious, some wrongdoing on Gon side and Nissan side is happening. But I don't know what is the true story.
But the public prosecutor arresting Gon again without any charges?
But I think this is not good. No, charges, but it's not good.
Charges? Charges were made?
No, not yet, but they're supposed to charge.
Of course they're supposed to make charges.
But I think that is not good. This Japanese typical arrest is purpose is how to make him confession. This is not good. This is
not gonna happen.
Historically Japanese method for the what the name that is for the target, target person.
You mean the suspect?
Suspect. Force him to say something.
Right, but I don't think Gon is the type who's going to say anything.
But Japanese way, but this is not good. You arrest him and keep him in the just closed room and give him pressure, any kind of mental pressure, and force him to confession. But this is not good.
No.
This is Japanese historical way to make confess his criminal. But it's not good.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if there's something wrong with Gon, but the way that this has been handled is like unbelievable. I mean, in the foreign media, there is a big brouhaha about the fact that even his wife was forced to take a shower with the door open and a police officer checking her every movement. Because and she's not even a suspect. It's unbelievable. This was on CNN. This was on Fox News. This was really, and people are now asking for trade measures against Japan. It's unbelievable that they let it escalate so far, and the politicians in Japan should actually be really worried now.
Very good thing. The Japanese, the rest of the world people recognize Japanese and court or some prosecutors,
Right.
what they're doing.
Right. Well, it's like all over the news now.
All over the world.
Right.
They now did know that.
Right. It's all over the news. It's in the Dutch news. It's in the American news. Everywhere. It's like really. This is getting completely out of hand. Japan is making a fool out of itself.
Yeah, Japanese, sort of history they have, so they need to change anyway. This is not democracy.
Right. Right.
Well, of course, they did wrongdoing something, but
But they need to prove it. They can't just sit and wait and force it out of him. If they can't prove it, then they have nothing.
right, I agree with you.
But it's a very we don't know what's going on, of course, and like the fact that he made a tweet.
Do you
by
know
a third
the
person?
kind of American policing, police system, and it's very similar. Chicago, and the black young person that they are targeting, kill them. Very similar. Whenever they're going to see the black young people, even if he's just not a criminal, but they're going to shoot them. Right? Very similar for the Japanese, criminal, kind of compassion system is very similar.
Right.
They need to change, right?
Well, and what doesn't help is probably that the public prosecutor, if they don't get a confession out of him, then more it's almost harikiri is in place.
Really?
Well, no, that's exaggerated. But I mean that for if they don't get a confession out of Gon, that will be such a loss of face.
But he doesn't do that, right?
No, I don't think he will confess, and he would be stupid if he would confess. But he's not stupid, and he's very stubborn. I don't think they got the right person to do that. Well, hopefully.
Did you see that he lost weight, right? Lot.
Yeah. Apparently he's very sick. He has something with his liver, so he actually needs medical treatment. But
Oh, really?
yeah. Yeah, there's he actually needs medical treatment, but so this is definitely.
How the judgment? He's wrong.
Yeah, well, actually, I don't think it matters at this moment anymore whether he's wrong or not. If you don't have a confession, then you cannot do this as a civilized country. These are like.
No. My question is, he's wrong.
Gone?
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised because the guy had so much power, and like there's a saying like power corrupts. I would if you're so powerful, then sometimes you might feel it's okay, and so I work hard enough.
I tell you, I don't read a lot of articles, just only the few English articles only. But my guess is he did many wrongdoing, but this is superficial. Okay, he tried to consider for Nissan. He don't want to get money for himself. Maybe some of those years, but basically he tried to target goal or secret doing some sending money or getting money. This is for company.
Maybe.
But actually, based upon the law or based upon the aspect of criminal, maybe he did criminal issues. But actually, he did not intend to doing criminal matters, but he tried to basically consider.
Apparently, I heard that now actually Renault is now again also trying to file charges because at least they're looking into irregularities where there were payments made from Qatar.
This is what I'm talking about.
To Lebanon.
But kind of Lebanon, all those things. But his true intention is for his company, not for himself.
Maybe, yeah.
Some of those maybe
possible.
Get some money, and he just because of his grown-up background, he needs money, right? this is some of those. It's understandable. Consider for his contribution, but mainly he just focused on the company. He never thinking about betray the company. Okay, like 100 wrongdoing, but maybe he get 10 of those, but 90% of Nissan.
Right.
And superficially, he lot of things wrongdoing, but behind the scene, he just consider for each of those 10 criminals, but
Right.
all of those tell the truth. He tried to consider for his company, moving money this way, the other way, and so many things he manipulated. But he authorized everything he can do. He could do anything.
Right, he could do anything. So that's that. So that there was nobody said no to him. Right.
But problem is Nissan board members betray him. This is major issue. And Japanese is morale. We cannot allow them to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest what people hold against him is that he made too much money. He got too much money, so he was too greedy or not modest enough. So I think that you have the public opinion against you. But did you see his statement that he recorded?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
So I was kind of like, so he said, oh yeah. So I love Japan and that will never disappear. And so like, he's doing the same thing as Saigawa. What's his name? The other guy.
Do you know that video is edited by a lawyer?
Oh really?
Yeah, eliminate the name of the Nissan board members. He criticized Nissan board members.
Oh, in it?
Yeah, but the lawyers eliminated, edited.
So they took the names out?
Yeah, take it out.
So he gave the names in the...
Yeah, of course. President or some vice president, somebody, of course he did. This guy is betrayed me.
But he said that what really happened is that actually...
maybe original one is straightly criticized several people. But this is took out by lawyer. Because if just show them, it's going another, trial will going to be happening.
Right, like
Evidence.
harassment, or false accusations or
Yes,
things like
that's
that.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So he can't make any mistakes.
Yeah.
But he claimed in that video that the real issue was that people were underperforming, and then when he tried to do something about it as the leader of Nissan, they did not want to collaborate because there was no unanimous decisions. But then, as a leader, he had to take action to protect the interest of the shareholders and things like that.
Most difficulty is actually the Gon did wrongdoing based upon Japanese law. Okay, so even if he just intended for the company, but actually he did wrongdoing.
Did he do it? Is it because they don't have proof for that yet?
No evidence. But authoritarian always they can do for the country or the company,
Sure.
but actually, especially he did.
But why can't they prove it? That's what's so surprising.
He just actually do some Blake law, a lot of Blake law. So he should be get in jail even if he just considered for the company. And nobody cannot. He can't have any evidence for this for Orient. Try to for the consider for company, right? Actually, he just send this money, moving around, and especially difficult to make judgment. He just did a good thing.
I'm following a discussion on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, there's a lot of discussion going on. About
Really, you saw it?
So on LinkedIn, there is a lot of discussion going on, mainly
You
among
watch it?
Yeah. There's mainly among foreigners in Japan who have been here for a long time, like journalists and business people.
What is it? What they say?
Oh, so no, everybody is like this is ridiculous, and the Japanese.
What is ridiculous?
The way that Japan is making is isolating itself from the rest of the world and
Put in jail?
Yeah, and
Put him in jail?
But
how about what he have done for Nissan?
What he has done for Nissan, yeah. So I think anybody agrees on that.
Oh, okay.
I think everybody agrees that. I mean, in
But
Japan
handling
and outside in Japan,
handling him is wrong, right?
right?
Okay. Yes,
But
I
there was one contributor who claimed to be a translator, Japanese English translator, and he says that I've seen so many things pass. I cannot comment on this, but I've seen so many things pass that this guy is guilty as hell. So Gon is guilty as hell, is what he claims. But I don't know about the level of this person, because he became very uncivilized in the discussion. But if that is true, then maybe that is true. But I think actually even now at this point, it doesn't matter anymore whether he's guilty or not. I think the damage is already done. Even if he's guilty, the way that this has been handled, that's become the issue. So even if they win this, they lose this from a Japanese perspective.
I don't understand what you mean.
So what I'm saying is that
he should be guilty, right?
no, I'm talking about even if he's guilty, I don't think that is the point anymore.
What do you mean?
I think the point is that the way that he has been treated, even though he may be guilty, but the way that he has been treated, the way that the Japanese legal system has handled this, has put so many people outside of Japan to turn against the Japanese. I mean, there are even people who are questioning whether we should boycott the Olympics in Tokyo next year. Seriously, this is becoming a serious opinion. Oh.
No kidding.
So like
Really?
anyone will never be the winner.
Right. So he might be very guilty. Okay, that made it as it be. So even if they find out all the evidence, still Japan will not win in this case. So yeah, so that nobody's gonna come out of this as a winner.
I think this is a typical case. We have a big gap among European people and Japan, right?
Mm.
So this is Japanese people still they do not. But some people recognize, but majority Japanese people does not recognize kind of a critical situation. Problem is they understand Japanese prosecutors is doing too much for Gon, but Japanese majority of Japanese people never understand. We have some big criticism from European people, right? The Japanese people they do not understand.
Right.
Some feeling this is wrongdoing for Gon for treatment for his put in jail, but not so heavy recognition by European people.
No,
This is
so kind of like it's our legal system.
but it's not good. This is not only the Gon case. It's just many cases we have gap, right?
Right. Right.
Yesterday I took a dinner with former Sony board members, currently trading companies executive director. I took dinner last night, and he told me he understands what I said. Japanese has very conservative, and they don't want to change, and they try to their own thinking way of life. So this is he is dealing with overseas doing something. But he can speak English, but he understands what I said, that we are talking about, sharing. This is a problem he understands, but not so many people like us. This is a problem. Like I tried to meet with, yesterday also I met with Toyo University's chairman, and my many years friend, and he understands what I said. Recently I meeting with many people, next week I'm going to meet many people to confirm. I try to consider for the current Japanese isolation and what Japanese should be, what kind of education is supposed to be, and what Japanese need to study for how to communicate, get trust relationship with European people, and senior member, higher ranking people, very educated people understand. But I tell you, even if you got higher position, but many higher position people they don't understand what I'm talking about. But only educated, not educated. This is wisdom.
I don't think there's not a problem of education. It's the problem of where you stand in.
and familiar with
a lot of I hear the term Galapagos a lot.
Galapagos. Yeah, this is a
The Galapagos.
This is a problem. But yesterday, last night, he told me, Craig, you just keep going. Don't discuss current your effort. He told me, even if so few people is agree with you. He told me. And some people very strongly accept what I'm doing, but I don't know how to persuade for those majority people. They do not understand the current, like Gon's case.
It's always difficult to argue against the majority opinion.
Exactly. This is what. Okay, let's go.
Right. Okay. All right. So we have fundamental strategies and we have tactics. The difference, but I mean, better be aware of it and better be prepared if you're going to engage in negotiations. So this leads to, and this is kind of a typical European thing. Create a document, and we're going to make our pre-assessment of okay. So what are our key interests here? Not only relating to money, but what is the bigger picture? Why do we need this deal? What will it mean to us as a company for our future? What is important to us? What strategy are we going to follow? What is our assumption about their strategy, and what tactics are we going to follow? So strategy could be okay. We could hardball this negotiation because we feel that their key interests are much higher.
By the way, we discussed based upon car deal, buy and sales. But usually, what kind of this discussion we are going to vision for key interest, strategy, taxes? What kind of case we are going to consider for? Theirs, our side, their side.
So what kind of case? So for example, let's keep it like we all know that like enterprise software, right?
Enterprise.
So suppose that we are SAP and the other side is a Japanese big company. Then okay, we can look at the that. I believe that their key interest, for example, is to optimize their supply chain because they have problems in their supply chain. So it's not just the software. If we can optimize the supply chain, then they will be able to become globally competitive. There will be openings. They will be able to do business process outsourcing, so they will be able to connect to foreign country. So having an implementation that addresses this issue will be of enormous interest to them. So we actually, if we know that, then we can kind of estimate what the actual value to them is, and if we know that, if we can actually look at that interest, then we can say, okay. Then another thing is that we can look at the negotiator. Is this person up for promotion or not? What is his position within the firm? What is important to him? Can we help him to make this promotion happen, or is there something is there somebody in the organization that is actually competing with this person? So how can we help our guy to win over the other guy? This is just a number of things. If we know that, for example, this company has been growing very, very quickly, then we can make assumptions about their cash flow position. Probably it is quite big key interest to them that they will get some kind of financing arrangement. So these kinds of things, separate from the price, we need to consider if we are going to before we're actually engaging in a negotiation. So we're going to make assumptions about, by studying their company, by studying our counterpart, by studying exactly what they're doing, where they want to go. We can get a much better idea of how we can tap into their key interests and can touch their key interests in order to make that deal happen. And based on that, when we know their key interests and we know our power relative to the other side, then we can determine our strategy. So what is our fundamental strategy? Are we going to be competitive, accommodative, and what tactics are we going to follow? What will probably work, what will not work? But these are still assumptions. We do that before the negotiation, and we do this during the negotiation. After every meeting, you will go back to this document and you will look at it and say, okay, well, we need to reassess their strategy, because it seems like they are not competitive at all. It looks like they're going to be more accommodative. What does that mean for our strategy? What will best fit our strategy? And if we discover actually something new about the negotiator at the other side, then we need to adjust that as well. So we will be constantly updating our vision statement based on our experiences. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so next we're going to look at value. So you're going to look at, okay, what objectives do you and your counterpart have for this negotiation? The point here is that actually, for example, if you know that supply chain integration is key to them, then you can actually and you actually have a lot of specialists that you can put into this deal, that you can actually put as resources on this project.
This you're talking about by both sides. People?
By both, yes. So you're going to look. You're going to make assumptions about their objectives and your objectives. So, for example, if supply chain integration is important to them, then going to look at, okay, what kind of specialists do we have? Can we get somebody from the market who is an absolute authority on supply chain integration? Could we actually even recruit somebody who has done this and for the competitor, for example? Those kinds of things, that if we can do that, you know that, okay, so that will tap in directly to them, and that will make our negotiation versus other SAP partners much stronger. So that is something that you're going to, okay, this is important to them, this is important to them, and this is not important to them. Like, for example, if you know that they have had enormous good results in the past 3-4 years, then financing probably will not be so important to them. So in that case, you may ignore this. But if it's important to you, then you can say, okay, well, we are going to discuss a model where we are going to actually make a proposal where we are going to receive 50% up front in order for us to make sure that our cash flow position stays good. So the objectives is based on assumptions, and you're just going to say, okay, this is important to us, this is key to us. If we have a shortage of staff, it's probably key to us that we do not, that our delivery date should not be too soon, not too short, because that means that we need to put more resources on the contract. That means that we need to hire more. That will significantly increase our costs. So in that case, we want to have a go live date that is further away. So that is one of our key interests, and maybe we can exchange that for something else. All right, so we can maybe reduce the price or something like that, because still, for us as an entire business, that makes sense. So it's not just a matter of looking at the price; it's also looking at everything else that surrounds this deal, warranties, etc. That's also legal conditions. Those are things that you're going to look at. Is this important for this company or not? And then basically, when you have this list, you're going to prioritize them and say, okay, this is important to us, this is important to them, and then you're going to look at your bottom and their top, and you're going to say, okay, what can we exchange? So what is of low importance to us and of high importance to them that we can exchange to something that is of high importance to us and of very little importance to them? By doing that, you can actually create a win-win situation. Basically, you can increase the value of the deal. So by not focusing on the position, but by looking at the interest and looking at, okay, what is important to us and what is important to them, you can actually create a much better deal. So a good experienced negotiator will not focus on just the price and try to get the best deal out of that, but will look at the bigger picture. What drives the other side? What drives us? What is important for our business? What's important to their business? What can we give in order to get something that is important to us. So yeah, and then there are some more technical things. To say, okay, well, before you're going to enter negotiation, you want to determine, okay, but what is actually our baseline? What is the minimum agreeable deal? So what for this? If we're going to do this entire project, what is the minimum price that we need to have? Is it 10 million, 50 million, 20 million? For example, and then what is our aspiration price?
What is the 20 million?
So that's your baseline. So let's say that
fees or
fees plus licenses and things like that. So you're going to look at the entire volume of the deal and say, okay, well, our bottom line, we are not going to proceed. We're not going to accept any price that is below 10 million, for example. But our aspiration price is 20 million. And then you're trying to figure out, okay, what is the baseline price that the other side has? So what is their price that they are willing to
aspiration price is expected best price?
Yes, aspiration price is what you would like to have, and the base price is what you need to have.
You need to have.
What you need to have is that if it goes below that, then okay, we're going to say stop, right? So that is so you make that agreement with your team and say, okay, well, if we don't get above this price, we should walk away. And you're not going to wait until you're negotiating, because at that time you're not going to think straight. It's just like buying shares. You're going to determine before you are actually going to purchase the shares. You're going to look at, okay, at this price I'm going to sell, this price I'm going to buy, because at that time you know that you're going to be irrational, and you might end up making the wrong decisions. So, and then once the negotiations start, you're going to look at the shared objectives. So what you're going to find as many things as possible that you have in common with the other side. So why this deal is important. So we want to do this because this and then that, and you want to do this because this and then that. So this is what we have in common. See, so if you do that, you're basically going to raise the walls. You're going to raise the barrier to actually walk out of this deal, because so you're going to create an atmosphere. Okay, this is why we need to do this. This is why we need to do this. This is why we need to do that. And you're going to make the other side say yes, 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 in order to actually make it more less attractive to walk out. So people will not immediately say, okay, all right, we can do this deal, but mind you, 25 million, not a dollar less. Well, if that's the case, and you don't have any common ground yet, you didn't establish any rapport yet, then there's a big chance that the other side, especially if their base price is way below that, they will say, forget it, we are walking out. So in the initial stages, you're trying to find common ground. You're trying to find the other side. You're trying to find what drives them, and you're trying to find out what is most important to them, and exchange it so that you can create value, work on actually creating rapport. So different from what most people think, the initial stages of negotiation are especially about creating a win-win deal, adding more value, putting as much value on the table as possible, in order to make it work for both sides, to make it more attractive for both sides. Doesn't mean that it will stay that way throughout the negotiations. Once you have maximized the value, if you feel that, okay, now I got a pretty good idea what the other side wants, and I got we have established as much value as we can, then the next step is actually to try, from all the value that's on the table, try to get the maximum share out. So there is a life cycle within negotiation. First, you're going to raise the value, and try to be as good as possible. But in the end, somebody needs to take that value from the table, and it's better be my side. BETNA, I think we all know what that is, so you need to have a backup plan. And okay, so these are a number of tips if you're negotiating. Don't give away anything for free. That means that, for example, if you are going to say, all right, so I'm fine if this deal is without warranty, but if you're going to accept that, then say, okay, but that means that of course the price will be reduced by 5% because that's the value of the warranty agreement, for example. So if you're going to make a concession, get something in return. That's something that is understood. And some people, very seasoned negotiators, might trick you into not doing that. There are some tactics that people will apply. So, for example, if you say, okay, well, I'm willing to accept warranty in exchange for 10%. Well, if you're willing to accept without warranty, why don't we skip this and then we have a deal, okay? So instead of making a counter offer, the other side is actually putting something on top of that and saying, and then offering the deal. So beware of that. But that's more of a tactic than a strategy. Reluctantly communicate a concession you are prepared to make. So you need to make clear to the other side that you are actually giving something to them and show the value that it has to you before you're going to give it. That's another tactic. And make sure that you make it explicit.
What does it mean? Okay, reluctant to communicate
Yeah.
a concession. I understand.
Right.
What do you mean?
So, for example, if you're going to, like, we're going back to the car, but okay, so if you are selling the car and you say, okay, well, I mean, this car normally comes with this stereo, and I do understand that you are very fond of it, and since I really feel that this would be a perfect car for you, and to make it a better deal, I'm willing to give you this stereo at it costs $200 more than the regular stereo that's in this car, but okay, since this is of so much value to you, I am going to give it for you as a special customer, as a special offer. But I hope you understand that I cannot give any discount on this car anymore. Right? So you're reluctantly giving something. You're reluctantly giving something to the other side and say, okay, well, I'm going to give this to you, but don't do it lightheartedly and say, okay, well, because then the other side will not feel that you have made any concessions. You should clearly communicate that whatever you're going to give them represents value. Right. So a seasoned negotiator will make you feel that he's working very hard for you to make you happy. Make sure that the conditions are clear. What sometimes happens if people are very hasty and they want to make this deal, then what happens if you don't make the conditions clear is that people start to nibble at you. And nibbling means that, okay, so let's say that
You said nibbling?
Nibbling. Nibble is like without not really eating, but like nibbling on something, like taking small bites out of something. So, for example, you are in the showroom, and the salesperson is very eager to make this deal. So you say, okay, this is the price, and we negotiate a little bit, and then we agree on a price. I say, okay, so let's sign here. Yeah, okay, but of course, it's okay. Yeah, that's great. But okay, but of course, there's a car stereo included, right? And there's no car stereo included. Oh, okay, there's no car stereo. Maybe I cannot sign.
Hot and melting is light.
Oh.
Just moving. Could you move a little bit? Yeah, just move it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Melting.
So make sure that you state all the conditions when you're negotiating. If you're too eager, you're too quickly to make a deal, and you're not securing all the steps, then you might be a victim to nibbling after you think you have reached an agreement. Okay, start with the bigger steps first. That makes sense. It's actually the same reason we discussed before, that you want to create some common ground first. And the more common ground you have, the more likely it will be that you will actually make a deal. And then make your counterpart work hard for your concessions. I think that's already clear. So again, here we are making assumptions, and we're going to say, okay, this is our objective. We want this price, we want these conditions, and we think that they are willing to spend. So if our objective is 25 million, and we think that they are willing to go as much as maybe 23, but their objective will be to buy it for 15, but their real base is probably something about 23. Then our objective will be to actually come as close as what they what their real base is. So they are not going to pay more than 23. Then we want to get the deal as close as possible to 23. So we will try to get that out of them. But you need to be very psychological, because nobody will tell you like, okay, so this is my real base price. I cannot afford anything more than this. A lot of people will not be honest about that, and customers will really not give their true real base and say, okay, well, I cannot pay more than 20 million, even though they might actually have a budget of 25 if it has to be. You have to be a little bit read between the lines and make assessment. Try to figure out what their BATNA is. What will they do if the deal between the two of you fails? Is it a good BATNA or a bad BATNA? And look at the list that you made. Okay, so these are things that are important to us and important to them, and which things are we going to trade against each other in order to get the best deal? All right.
Mm.
Okay. Then the next one, actually, it is a process. So basically, process is, okay, how are we going to perform the negotiations? Which steps are we going to take? What is the process that we're going to follow, or that we want to follow in this negotiation? Of course, the other side, if it's two European delegations, the other side will think the same thing, but this is prepared. So that means that when you are entering the negotiation, you want to be as assertive as possible in actually giving direction to that negotiation. So a strong delegation will try to, outline right at the bat. So the first meeting, they want to say, okay, they want to propose the agenda. So let's do it this way, right? And they will make the agenda in a way that is most conducive to their objectives. Like, for example, if they know that the other side has a very high strategic value in the deal, they want to set up an agenda. They want to set up a meeting schedule that is very tight. So that basically put the other side under time pressure if they know that there's a lot riding on this deal. So by actually setting a tight time schedule, they can influence the outcome. Also, they might say, okay, so the way that we see this deal going, these elements are important. So they will create a model of the entire deal, already name the elements of the deal that we need to agree upon and the sequence in which we are going to do this, and also that will be in their advantage. So basically they're going to frame the deal, set the timeline, set the agenda, set the meeting place, organize the venue, everything they will try to do, and everything with the objective to actually make their side win most out of the negotiation. So the process here is very important. It's a very important part of the negotiation, and it is all aimed at controlling what's happening. So you have to be quite careful if you're negotiating with a European delegation to not just say yes to everything. And clearly think and prepare, okay, but what is in our best interest? Do we really want to go to the...
Japanese are preparing well or bad?
I don't know. I think they're preparing very well, but they are not preparing to negotiate. They are preparing to present their deal to the other side. So the preparations are done very well, but it is a completely different preparation. The preparation from the Japanese side will be aimed at just proposing a deal which has all the conditions, the pricing, and everything already in it. And the European delegation will basically decide the price, decide all the terms and conditions within the negotiation. So the starting point is completely different.
Right.
That is very risky, because a European delegation will feel very uncomfortable when they are confronted with because they don't expect to have an end result. They think, okay, but we still need to negotiate about the price and the conditions, and you don't even know what's important for me, and I have a completely different ideas than you have, and how can we because I was not expecting.
Japanese proposal is just kind of conclusion.
It's a conclusion, right?
Instead of a discussion
Right.
framework.
And it's not the starting point of a discussion. It's the end point of the discussion, basically. So the European delegation, when, for example, if they are the customer and the Japanese delegation is actually going to present their offer, then the Europeans will say, okay, that will perceive that as being the starting point of the negotiation. They say, okay, well, all right, so you are proposing 20 million, but actually we don't feel like this is a 20 million deal. From our side, we only prepared to pay 15, and you say that you can deliver by the end of next year. Actually, we need this by June next year, and you're talking about this needs to be paid in by the 1 month after the project completion, but we are thinking more in terms of a 5 year financing agreement. So all these things, like this is, I feel that a lot of Japanese delegations will not be prepared to actually make concessions on what they are going to offer. This is their offer, and take it or leave it, but not say, oh, the price is wrong, the conditions are wrong, and everything else in it is wrong, because this is it. And if you want to change the rules, we worked very hard to prepare this deal. It's a fair deal, it's an honest deal, so why don't you take it? So the preparation on both sides will be good, is what I expect. It's not like an artistic, okay, actually, I'm talking about European, but I think the further south you get, if you come to Italy, etc., there will be more focus on tactics and less on strategy, and this is more of an approach that you can expect from England, Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, France. But the further south you get, the more of an art it becomes.
What?
More of an art it becomes. This is more of a almost a scientific approach into how to negotiate. So Yeah, I believe that a lot of unexperienced negotiators, when they enter a negotiation with the Japanese and vice versa, Japanese entering a negotiation with Europeans will be very unpleasantly surprised about what is expected here. What are we doing here? There's probably a complete mismatch. So another preparation that they will do is they will prepare a list of questions. Okay, what do we need to ask? What are we going to ask them? And then the question will be So what is your bottom line price, or for example, and why do you think this is a fair price, and what do you feel is included, and probe then a number of follow-up questions in order to learn more about what the other side real motives are. So what are the motives behind the positions? A lot of negotiators will need to take certain positions about price, about conditions. But then what's underlying them? So in order to make sure that you will not forget to ask certain questions, you will prepare these questions. Then another thing that's important in the process, who's going to do what? Who's going to be the negotiation leader? Who's going to be the observer? What kind of task is everybody taking? Who's going to take the notes? Who's going to do this, that, and the other? Who's the bad cop? Who's the good cop? You name it. So we're going to assign roles to different people, in order to create to divide the roles as clearly as possible, and give everybody clear instructions on what to do. So then, we're going to look at the negotiation structure. What is the agenda going to look like? What is the venue going to be? Is it going to be a luxurious venue, or is it going to be a very Spartan venue? Is it going to be our place, or in a hotel in our city, or somewhere else? Is it going to be a fancy venue somewhere in a luxury resort? It will all depend on your assessment of the negotiation and the other side, and what their motives are. Who's going to take the notes? When are we going to do the debrief? Because the debrief.
What is the debrief?
Debrief is actually after the meeting. You're going to get together and you're going to evaluate from all the different role takers. You're going to look at so what does this negotiation look like for you as an observer? What does it look like for you as a note taker? So everybody's going to look at that, and you're going to look at the document that you prepared. And you're going to say, so what did we learn this meeting about their, for example, their baseline price? What do you feel? Are we too high or are we too low? Do we need to adjust it? Yes or no? What did we learn about their the personal interest of the negotiator? I get the feeling that actually he's under a lot of pressure from his boss about the price. What do you think? Yeah, I feel so too. Maybe we need to address this and focus more on the terms and conditions in order to make him win on this point, because I don't feel that he will be able to come home with a price anything more than this. So these are that's something that you do during the debrief. So every meeting usually has a debrief where you're going to evaluate what just happened.
Oh, Edison.
Hi.
I have a question about team-based negotiations, especially delegation.
Yes.
Please image VOC.
Yes.
VOC is the Netherlands has a very long distance. They couldn't have a good communication on real time. How to communicate and how to make co-working in that all the time?
You mean the home office and the...
Actually, I think VOC should get a good delegation from the Netherlands.
Well, actually, I mean, there's a story. I'm not sure whether it's true.
I think that is the essence of the colonialism management.
Well, so this is actually what I read about the Indochina.
Yeah.
Indochina was never a plan. It
Never
was
planned.
never planned by the
Planned.
French.
Really?
It happened.
Happened.
It happened because the people on the ship, they were on a mission and they encountered the situation and they decided they needed to take action in response to some kind of provocation, or they felt threatened or whatever, and they went on land, they conquered the other side, and they thought, maybe we should stay here. So sometimes this really went out of control.
No control.
No.
Wow.
I mean, of course, there was also an interest for the captain to bring back the goods as they planned to do. So if you would bring back the spices, then you would know that given the market prices, then you could make a good profit. So normally you would bring that back, and you would just get your reward as agreed upon. But if you would actually encounter a more profitable idea, some people would basically, or some captains would say, you know what, we're not going to bring spices, we're going to bring gold back to...
Just happened.
Yeah, it just happened. It just happened. So a lot of things just happen.
Happening makes a history. Wow.
Yeah, because you're right. I mean, it takes months and months before they finally arrive back. If they arrive back at all.
But many Japanese couldn't dance with happening because nowadays many Japanese company go abroad, but local company of the Japanese company sometimes ask the headquarters of Japan.
Right. There's too much communication possible. That means because it's possible, it's also required.
And nowadays we could get good communication by internet, but that's the problem. Local company of the Japanese local company couldn't have a good delegation.
Right, because you can control it, they will control it. If you cannot control it, then basically, what? まあしょうがないな。
しょうがない。
But actually, maybe it would be better for. Sometimes it's better that people deal with the situation pragmatically. So our nature in the Netherlands, the Dutch people have a very pragmatic culture. So we will adjust our opinions and actually the way that what we're doing based on the situation. So it's a case by case. There is very little dogma involved.
I suppose nowadays Japanese many business person should learn the age of the VOC age. How to manage the team-based negotiations that all the time.
So, like sometimes you had captains who were thrown overboard. That's not such a mutiny. Was not such a rare situation, especially because the situation on board was sometimes very, very harsh. There was not always enough food, and but so the captain had the responsibility to bring the goods back. But if there is not enough food on board, the crew might start mutiny. So they want to go on land and get some fresh foods and things like that. But that means delays, and delays are costly. So yeah, sometimes it would happen that the captain would be just thrown overboard, and the crew would take over. Was not that rare, actually. Was not that rare. So.
But today I have a very surprise that happening makes a history.
Yeah. So a lot of things were not planned out to be that way.
Not planned.
I don't think that, like, for example, the Netherlands in Indonesia, they never planned to colonialize. They just went there to trade. That was their objective, and they were trading, and then but the trading conditions were kind of not so equal, and because the Dutch people had guns and the Indonesians did not have guns, so there was a very big power imbalance, and power corrupts. So people feel like, why are we actually going to trade? We just take it. That's even more profitable.
More profitable.
So yeah. So yeah, a lot of I think that probably a lot of this colonialization, especially pre 20th century colonialism, was not so well planned.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So process. So about framing, framing to gain control. It can help you to gain focus. If you are the one who decides what the world looks like, what we are going to agree, what we need to agree upon, and in which order, you can actually create an advantage, and you can use it to your advantage. So you force the other side in your world instead of being trapped into theirs. So this is something that you can expect from a European delegation. You can shape aspirations. You can say, okay, well, this is what I expect from this deal, and highlight concerns about potential losses. Actually, losses. The losses are usually perceived more important than potential gains, and this is also the reason why insurance sells so well. They present unique benefits that your counterpart might gain.
You said gain and loss. What does this mean?
Gain is what you can get out of a deal, and loss is what if you don't reach an agreement, what you will lose.
Lose means lower the aspiration.
So lose means basically if we cannot reach this deal, you will not be able to actually effectively manage your supply chain. This means that you will have difficulty outsourcing your business overseas. That means that you will not be able to expand overseas, and that you will not have access to the foreign market. That means that you will be stuck in Japan, in a demography that is shrinking. So the future of your company, if you cannot do this unique business integration system, then the long-term future of your company will be in jeopardy. Invoke common ground and emphasize collective benefits. This is something that, of course, will happen. Establish and control the agenda. Frame your past action concessions in terms of gains for the other side. Okay, that's. I think I also use that in a different context. So, okay, what did we already give to you? So we asked for this price, and we already lowered it this much money, and we were going to deliver by the end of next year, and we already agreed to make it 2 months shorter, and we this, that, and the other, and basically there's no budget for training, and we are offering training on as well. So you're going to emphasize everything that you've given away in the process in order to make the other side see that you're working hard for them. You're actually trying to make it happen for them. So the other side will be more and more reluctant to ask for more concessions because they feel that, okay, you've done your best. Avoid win-losing framing. So okay, always try to keep it win-win. That is the best way to.
You mean the win-win instead of win-lose?
Yeah. Yeah. So try to keep it in a win-win. So what if we do this? You can get better deal. I can get a better deal. So questioning, how to prepare questions, discover the other side's interests, concerns, goals, decision-making process, and the objective is, of course, not to forget to ask these questions during negotiation. Because what you want is you want to get this information. You really need to know what drives the other side in order to make a proposal that best fits their needs. And by doing that, you will be able to best suit your needs, because you can get something in return that may be of low value to them. And then you're going to follow up with nurturing questions, follow-up questions. Can you tell me more about this? You said this, but why is that important to you? Or if you say this, does it also automatically mean that you also, etc., etc.? So you try to learn more and more about them, and in order to that kind of information will help you to tailor your proposal in a way that is best for both sides. For example, like a probing question, okay, what are the key elements of the deal that you're looking for? And then you wait for the answer and say, okay, what are these key elements that you have identified? And then nurturing question, can you tell me more about, can you give me an idea what impact does this have on your organization or on you? And what would be your ideal solution? So what should this software do? If you look at the ideal supply chain integration, what does it look like? What does it need to do? What is important to you? What does it mean for you in terms of finance integration? What does it mean in terms of manufacturing? What does it mean in terms of logistics and distribution? How should it work? Should it work for you, or should it also work for third parties? All these things that you would like to get on the table, because the more you know, the more ammunition you have, the more change you will find in order to create a deal. The team composition. So who's on the team? What are the roles? There are basically fundamentally three distinct roles. There's the relationship focused role, to look at the balance, to see, okay, who's the who's the boss, who's the supporter, who is what is the relationship between them, and what is our relationship, and who would best engage with which counterpart. Then there's the task focused role and the observer role. The observer role is especially very important during the debrief, because this person's main responsibility is to observe, and to observe. Not to make any concessions, not to talk even, but just to observe in order to see and validate whether the assumptions that you had are true, and to look at the responses when certain questions are being asked, and who is going to answer that question, and what their non-verbal communication was, and things like that. And then the structure. So that means that, okay, it's very simple. If we are going to negotiate a very exquisite, exclusive, high-level deal with Saudi prince, then it might be more suitable to negotiate on a yacht somewhere in the Mediterranean than in somewhere in a stuffy head office in Japan. So you need to make sure that the venue, the place where you meet, the circumstances where you meet are suitable for the negotiation you're going to have. For example, there are I heard it. Somebody this week was talking about visiting a client, and I was surprised because he was a gaijin, but he made a very big fuss about going there by taxi, and he didn't want to be dropped off right in front of the door, because that would give the other side the impression that they would loosely use their money, and therefore the prices would be too high. So he made a whole brouhaha about the actually not being dropped off by the taxi right in front, but then the taxi pulled up almost in front, so he was very upset about the whole thing. I thought it was a typically European approach to negotiation. I don't know whether the Japanese side would care, but he thought it was important. So my friend, he has very nice cars, but he would always take his wife's car when he felt it was necessary for a negotiation.
Really?
Okay, okay. So suggest an agenda. So next meeting, let's do this and that. That's a very powerful way to actually keep control over the structure and what is happening, and make sure that you put the points that the things that are of interest to you on the agenda. That would help to move things along, so. We always want to agree on the agenda, and try to impose our agenda on the other side, and put the priorities or our priorities at the beginning of the meeting.
I have no experience in kind of old series of negotiation
Really?
tactics. No. Are you doing this?
Yeah.
Really? Really?
Yeah. Of course, not for every negotiation, but
I
this
think
is
Japanese people,
this is kind of elaborate. It will not be in this shape and form, but definitely I experienced this. To be honest with you, I usually did not do these negotiations myself, but I definitely saw our salespeople doing this kind of negotiation, and I was usually as a pre-sales consultant there, as a more of a product expert, and being kind of independent. My role was basically to create more of a friendly relationship with the other side as a somebody who could be trusted, and would be honest about the product.
Japanese people are doing this?
I don't think so.
Okay. I agree. Okay. Because just my feeling is a little bit just looks like too much. Like a structure, questioning, but usually they will not prepare beforehand.
No. We do prepare, but okay. So since experienced people, they don't. This is on everybody's mind. So you have a pre-meeting, and this could be a meeting of maybe 1 hour, 2 hours. If you negotiating a relatively small deal. But if you're going to negotiate a multi-million deal, definitely people will prepare for a week, if not more. So again, here we have preparation document, framing statements. Okay, which aspirations, which concerns, which benefits to them, what do you have in common, what will the agenda look like? Then, okay, the probing questions, and so what is the main question, and how are we going to follow up with this question? Who takes which role within the team, and how are we going to structure it? What venue are we going to pick up? Who's going to take notes? When we're going to do the debrief? All these things, they need to be prepared in order for us to basically focus on the negotiation and not anything else. We need to have already established where we want to have the next meeting, when we want to have the next meeting, what we want to put in the agenda, etc., etc. If you don't do it, if you're not prepared, the other side will propose, and then basically you will lose the chance to control and determine what happens. So control is everything.
Preparing those issues is kind of boring, right?
It is kind of boring, but there's a lot of money involved. So this is just work. I mean, if you have to be behind your computer every day sending emails, is also kind of boring. But that's the nature of work. But it's not only boring. It's also kind of exciting. It's also kind of interesting, because it's not only technical. It's also very psychological, and
getting the discussion may be exciting, but beforehand
preparing
preparing.
More as diligent. But did you ever write proposals?
Yeah, of
I
course.
usually write proposals, and
Yeah, of course.
that's super boring.
Yes. No, boring. Writing proposal not boring. We need to give them better impression. But this kind of process, procedure. What kind of question do you have? Or what kind?
Yeah.
of
What
action
what do we need
make?
to know? So basically.
No, just so okay. Let's meet with them.
No. No.
Okay, this is my fault, shortcoming.
Hmm.
Always my shortcoming.
Better prepare. So
yeah,
this.
that's right.
These
This
are the
is-
points I
yeah.
want to touch.
Yeah,
Hmm.
it's okay.
But I think that kind of approach is you will find that more and more when you go further south in Europe.
Yeah. Okay. Good. What?
The climate
is
is okay. Okay, so basically, you can actually determine the climate of your negotiation. So it makes a big difference if you're going to hire a nice meeting room in the Hilton Hotel,
Oh,
or
in
you're
the
go-
atmosphere you are talking about?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
I mean, I clearly remember the first time I came to Japan. I had a meeting in Furuno, and it was after a long flight. Even the CEO came. I was in Japan already, but the CEO actually just came out of Hong
Your
Kong.
Japanese CEO?
No, in the Dutch CEO.
Your former company?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I was an external, but doesn't really matter. So the company that I represented there, the CEO came out of Hong Kong. He had delay like 3 hours or something, or I think even was stranded overnight in the Hong Kong airport, and he was like smelly and tired and hungry and what have you, and we were actually put into a meeting room somewhere like in a back room with no windows. There was hardly any light on. He was only offered a cup of water, and that's it. And they would just keep on.
What kind of business are dealing?
So that the business dealing was about business integration between Furuno and us, and Furuno was actually on the more on the customer
Your
side.
Dutch company side. He
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. But basically, what I did not realize before I went there that basically Furuno felt that they had the upper hand in this relationship, that they were actually
Advantage.
superior in this negotiation. So that was a pretty disastrous meeting. The climate was 100% determined by the Japanese, and もう本当にありえない。It was very clear that they were not there to do us any favors.
Okay, but I agree.
Right. Okay, so little things, personal space, temperature, what can we do? Do we have name cards on the table?
Yeah, this is also I have heavy experience for this climate setting up. Yes, of course I understand.
Right.
Must be carefully to how
Right.
to handle which kind of people will going to entertainment or negotiate is very carefully.
Right.
Oh, he is very heavy established person. Is I don't care so much because he has very heavy confidence. But the other people, some they don't have confidence, must be taken care of. They feel something bad feeling for the location, for the dinner, or for entertainment. Must be careful. But he is very good, high position person. I don't care so much.
Oh.
He have so confident, so meeting with me, so solving climate very important. Do you already understand with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So okay, so this is basically on how to determine the climate. If you for example, if the decision maker is going to like take a nap during the meeting, like things like that. That could be really determine the atmosphere of the meeting. Like I think that it happens a lot, and it's it's fully acceptable in Japan, but Europeans are 100% shocked if it happens, if somebody is seemingly taking a nap during a meeting. That's perceived to be highly insulting.
Oh, highly insulting.
Mm. So, how to persuade? Persuasion is, of course, a very important element of negotiation, and there are actually 6 principles of persuasion to make the other side, the counterpart, agree with what you are proposing. So if you're going to make a proposal, how you're going to persuade the other side to actually agree with you. Then what elements, what principles can you apply to actually be persuasive? Reciprocity is the first. So
Give and take, right?
give and take. Give and take. Reciprocity means give and take. And actually, if you want to control, act first. Act first. Right? So you are going
Speak
to
out first.
invoke reciprocity.
Speak out first.
Yeah. Then liking, find common interest, goals and objectives. This is something that I think it's kind of
Liking the kind of.
good salespeople know how to do this almost naturally. This is how probably like natural salespeople is what they're good at. I remember I was cold calling, and my friend was also cold calling. We were cold calling together, and
What do you mean cold calling?
cold calling. Cold calling means actually calling businesses and trying to get in touch unknown contacts and trying to get through the secretary, getting in touch with the CTO, for example, the chief technology officer. Cold calling, more, I think everybody hates it, but my friend is actually pretty good at it, and he enjoys it too. But liking is something that he used a lot. So, for example, he would kind of like.
What do you mean liking?
Liking. So, all right. So, example. So, after talking with the secretary and calling her a number of times and having a friendly conversation and really making her like, oh, I want to help this guy. That was his objective. So, first the secretary needs to like me. So he talks a lot. But actually, liking doesn't really mean that. It's also like, okay, once he would actually get through to the CTO would pick up the phone and says, yes, hello, this is Richard, and then he would just shut up, and he said, yeah, I can hear you think, I don't know any Richard. That's right, you don't know me, and I don't know you either. So we already have something in common. So liking is actually to figure out things that you have in common. So find out whether you both share the same interest in golf, or in if you both have children. It can be anything, but finding common ground. So what does this other person have in common with me? And the more you have in common with the other person, the more easy it will be for you to persuade this person. Authority. So why do I matter to them? Why should they even take time to talk with me? What do I have to offer? What kind of experience can I bring? What kind of value can I bring to them? Authority. So authority means, okay, somebody who's an authority in his field is somebody who knows his field very well.
Okay.
So this could be just what you
Expert.
know, or so an expert, or it could also be that I have a lot of decision-making power, or I'm a strong influencer of senior management who are the ones who are going to make a decision, or can be anything. But basically, why do I matter? Why should they take the time to even talk to me? Then scarcity. Scarcity is basically highlighting the unique benefits of what you have to offer. So, okay, I know you can buy this car anywhere, but can you buy this car with this warranty, or under these conditions with this financing? You can't find this anywhere. Or what is unique about our company is that we have 10 people with 10 years plus experience in supply chain integration that you cannot find anywhere. So the scarcity is to make sure that you have something unique to offer, and there's nothing else like it. Commitment, okay. And again, my friend, when we are calling, so basically, he would actually talk a little bit and then secure an initial commitment. So do you like coffee? So if you can take care of the coffee, we will bring the cake. And then okay, right. So we will bring the cake. Making a commitment. Okay, all right. So I will do it. So making an initial commitment, trying to say, okay, sure, I will do that. So let the other side make the initial step in order to be persuasive. And yeah, okay, this is an obvious one, but social proof, and especially important in Japan, I believe. Others like you are customer of ours. We have this competitor, that competitor from your industry, actually, who is also our client. This is why everybody always put like brand names on their website and etc. to give some social proof, or our rating on Amazon or things like that. This is very important in order to be persuasive. Okay, so when do we need to persuade? So we know which elements are important to persuade, but when do we need to be persuasive? I believe I already showed this graph to you. Basically, this matrix. So actually, the way to read this is to be more persuasive. The further right we go, the more persuasive you need to be, and this is basically least persuasive. So the prospect state of mind can be okay. They're either for you, they're undecided, they could be against you, or gone fishing. This is actually a very important realization. The hardest part is actually not when somebody's against you. The hardest part is when people don't care. So if if people are raising objections against you, if they are say, okay, yeah, but it's just way too expensive. I don't I cannot afford this at all. I mean, there's no point in actually even continue to discuss this because it's not for us. That's actually much better than people say, I can't be bothered, or I'm just go sleep or something like that. This is something that is that's a big problem. Then what? How can you be?
What do you mean test drive? What do you mean?
Test drive. Okay, so if somebody is for you, if they are really for you, then just telling them what you have to offer is enough. You don't have to be very persuasive, right? If you need to prove it, is for example by giving references. So you can tell them, oh, I have this and this and this and this and this to offer. So we have this many consultants. So basically, you can just tell them what you're going to provide to them. But if you need to be more persuasive, then you need to actually prove it. So you need to prove that you have the things that you are claiming to have. So you need to give references, you need to maybe give a proof of concept, you need to actually not only tell them what you have to offer, but you need to show them that you actually can deliver. The power of storytelling, the power of actually not, so people are persuaded by facts, but they're actually even more persuaded by vivid images. Vivid images is what basically not what you do, but why you do it. That is more important to people. People are more persuaded by images, by emotions, than by facts. So if you need to be more persuasive, if it's necessary, so if somebody is actually like against you or undecided, then you need to be more persuasive, and you need to use very vivid images. And then the test drive is actually basically just say, okay, I'm gonna give this to you. You have 30 days to try it out for free. That's a test drive. That's a test drive. So okay, you can just try this. Take it. If you don't like it, just bring it back. No questions asked. You don't need to pay. That's just it. If people are if people are really very indifferent towards your product and or against it, it's okay. Well, maybe I cannot. The facts. My story, etc., doesn't care to you, but my product, I guarantee to you, it's good. And to prove it to you, I'm just gonna give it to you. You're gonna drive it for a month. If you don't like it, bring it back to me. I guarantee you, it's good. That would even persuade somebody who's against you.
What is the left side? Is you said prospect state of mind.
Right.
Prospect state of mind. Why for you, not for me? Why for you? For you, what do you mean?
For you. So the prospect state of mind, if the prospect state of mind is in the left corner here, then they are for you. That means they have a very positive feeling. You are, for example, I'm the nephew of the client. Right, so I'm coming there to tell about the software, but actually I'm the nephew of the client. So my uncle is probably going to be very much for you and say, oh yeah. Well, I think we need this.
Okay. By the way, this is test drive. I just a couple of days ago, Japanese American. I had a chance to take lunch with him. He has software. Okay, he'll go ask me, okay, you're going to be test driver and free. And this very interesting software. She sent mail to me, the appointment, and we supposed to meet with next Thursday. She sent mail to me. I answered for him. Just switch button there. Yes, and for him. Do you know what happened?
No.
This automatically. My schedule, Google schedule, next Thursday, certain time appointment, automatically schedule in my PC. Okay. Okay, he sent mail.
Yep.
I send asking, return for him. Yes, I support. I agree with you. Support to meet with you. Then automatically he sent message for me to schedule on my Google schedule. Do you know that? Automatically. So I prepared, I put in my schedule on the same day, same time, but he sent mail, forced me to the schedule. So double booking kind of mails is on my schedule.
So
how he could do that?
But you use the Gmail account when you emails him. Yeah, okay.
Not Gmail, I think my Gmail account.
Gmail probably. Otherwise he will not be able to access.
He could do that.
So
it's amazing.
Oh. Yeah, that's very useful.
Did you know that?
Well, there's a lot of things you can do actually with Google. Their integration is very very strong. I mean, their API will allow that to do that. Yeah.
So he gave me the software. He told me advertising those software to the other people, the other company. This is interesting. Okay, let's move on.
Right. By the way, maybe we should stop the video once.
Yeah, do you have more?
Yeah, actually, I have a lot more.
How come? Where did you get this material?
I wrote it in preparation for the.
You read some book?
Oh, so yeah, I read a number of books. I took a number of courses and I read a number of books.
Amazing. Oh, you have more materials you prepare.
Oh.
Okay, this is now.
So this was actually what we're going to do, an offer to companies, right?
Oh, you?
Yeah.
No?
No, with you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why I prepared it.
Are you going to sell to the other company?
Oh, so no. So we were going to do this together.
Doing business for another company?
No. I'm not offering this to anyone at the moment.
No. You support to sell another company for this negotiation skill for training?
No, with you.
Yeah, だから for you going to sell.
If I'm going to do that,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm going to do this in my own company. I'm not sure yet.
But anyway, okay, let's stop it. Okay, so let's break. Good.
Who wants coffee?
Yes, please.
Coffee.
Me.
Okay. Black coffee. This one or cold?
No, black coffee.
Was it too much for you? This one
This one.
for coffee. Then you can hold.
That's good. I will do
Always
that.
he is holding by himself. Stop recording.
I'll be right back.
今日は寝なかった。I didn't sleep.